Far away at the edge of the known galaxy, there was a small, quiet planet called Eliara. Its surface shimmered in soft green and blue shades with sprawling forests, wide rivers, and tall, crystal-like towers built centuries ago. Eliara was home to the Lyrans, a gentle and intelligent species. They had once been brilliant engineers and thinkers, creating technologies that could move planets and explore stars. But centuries of peace, isolation, and slow decline had made them soft, quiet, and unarmed. The Lyrans were peaceful by nature. They valued art, music, and knowledge above anything else. Their cities were quiet, elegant, and carefully built to blend with the natural landscape. Crystal walkways reflected the sunlight, and soft glowing lights lit the streets at night. Life moved slowly on Eliara, and the Lyrans liked it that way. They had little contact with the rest of the galaxy because for most civilizations, Eliara was simply unimportant. Many alien species passed near the planet but ignored it. Traders preferred richer worlds. Explorers looked for planets with stronger defenses or resources, and even scientists thought Eliara had little to offer. Over time, the Lyrans became invisible to the galaxy. Their history, knowledge, and beauty went unnoticed. For the Lyrans, this was normal. They had learned not to expect attention or help from outsiders. One calm day, the silence of Eliara was broken by a sudden streak of light in the sky. A human survey ship, the USS Horizon, appeared, gliding gracefully above the forests. The ship's hull reflected the sunlight like a silver comet, and it moved with a confidence the Lyrans had never seen. Eliara's sensors picked it up immediately, and the people of the planet were curious but cautious. Inside the Horizon, Captain Mara Vey stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the planet below. Mara was a veteran explorer, known for her courage and curiosity. She had seen hundreds of worlds, but Eliara struck her differently. The planet felt alive, calm, and intelligent, as if it had its own quiet mind. "Commander," Mara said to her first officer, "bring us closer. I want a full scan. There's something unique here." The crew obeyed, running scans of the planet's cities, energy fields, and communications. Data flowed in rapidly, revealing the elegance of the Lyrans' technology. Though much of it was old, it was refined and highly advanced in ways humans rarely expected. Mara frowned slightly, noticing the lack of defenses. "No shields, no weapons," she muttered. "They're defenseless." The Lyrans watched as the Horizon descended. Their leaders, wise elders called the Council of Voices, debated quietly. They had never met aliens before, and the humans looked powerful, strange, and dangerous. Yet somehow they seemed curious rather than threatening. When Mara and her landing team touched down near a sparkling river in the capital city, the Lyrans gathered to observe. They had never seen beings like humans, upright, strong, and fearless. Mara stepped forward, raising her hands in peace. "We mean no harm," she said in a clear voice amplified by her translator. "We are explorers from a distant star. We have seen your world and your culture, and we admire it. You are not alone." The Lyrans were stunned. "Not alone?" one of the elders asked. "We have always been alone. All civilizations pass by us. None see us. None help us. Why would you care?" Mara smiled gently. "Because sometimes the right choice is not about power or profit. It is about doing what is right. You are important, and we will not ignore you." For the first time in generations, the Lyrans felt hope. They invited the humans to their city, showing them their libraries, art galleries, and archives of knowledge. Mara walked through the halls of Eliara's history, marveling at intricate models of planets, star maps, and machines that humans had never imagined. The Lyrans explained that their civilization had been peaceful for centuries. Their scientists and engineers had created incredible inventions, but over time, the galaxy had changed. Hostile species, trade wars, and political empires had made other civilizations aggressive and competitive. Eliara, small and unarmed, had been forgotten. Mara listened carefully, understanding the danger that lay ahead. She knew the galaxy had predators, species that conquered planets for resources or sport. One name came to her mind immediately: the Dravans, a cruel and relentless race that targeted defenseless worlds. The Lyrans had no weapons, no fleet, and no allies. If the Dravans ever found them, Eliara would be destroyed. That evening, the Horizon's crew gathered with the Lyran Council under the glow of a crystalline sunset. Mara spoke gently, trying not to alarm them. "I see your beauty, your wisdom, and your peaceful way of life. That makes you a treasure in this galaxy. But treasures attract danger. There are civilizations that would take what you have without care. You need protection, and we are here to help you." The elders were hesitant. "We do not know your ways," one said. "We do not know if humans can be trusted." "How do we know you will not harm us?" Mara nodded, understanding their caution. "You do not need to trust me blindly. Watch what we do. See our actions. If we harm you, you will know. But if we help you, you will know that we are allies. I promise humanity will not abandon Eliara." For hours they discussed plans. The Lyrans described their cities, important knowledge centers, and their few remaining technological marvels. The humans scanned for weaknesses, noting the lack of planetary shields and minimal defense systems. They saw a civilization brilliant in thought but defenseless in reality. Mara knew the first step was simple: understanding. Her crew studied the Lyrans' methods, learning their languages, culture, and science. Every day brought new surprises. The Lyrans had a deep knowledge of natural energy flows, creating devices that worked with the planet's own power, rather than against it. Mara realized that if humans combined their technology with Lyran insight, they could create defenses unlike any the Dravans had seen. Meanwhile, word of Eliara slowly spread among the Horizon's communications network. Other civilizations remained indifferent, ignoring the discovery. Some laughed at humans, calling them foolish for caring about a forgotten planet. Others whispered curiosity, watching silently as humans began their efforts. But no help came from the galaxy at large. Humanity would stand alone if conflict arose. The first days passed with both wonder and worry. The Lyrans were excited to share their knowledge, but scared of the unknown threats Mara spoke of. Children played near glowing rivers, unaware that danger might one day reach their peaceful world. Elder scientists explained to Mara's team how they had built energy conduits beneath the cities, channels of power that could light the entire planet. Mara saw potential not just for defense, but for unity. Then, one quiet night, a deep warning alarm from Eliara's sensors startled everyone. Distant ships, moving with precision, were approaching the system. Mara's face tightened as she scanned the readings. "Dravans," she muttered under her breath. "They are here sooner than expected." The Lyrans froze. They had heard stories of the Dravans, worlds burned, populations enslaved or destroyed, but they had never expected the danger to reach them. Fear rippled through their cities, breaking generations of calm. Mara raised her hands again, speaking to the gathered elders. "Do not panic. You are not alone. We will stand with you. Together we can prepare your world for what is coming. We will teach you to defend yourselves. And together we will show them that Eliara is not defenseless." Hope, fragile but shining, returned to the hearts of the Lyrans. For the first time in centuries, they realized that the galaxy had not completely forgotten them. Humans had come not for power, not for profit, but because they chose to care. As night fell, the horizon hovered above Eliara, its lights reflecting softly on the crystal towers below. Humans and Lyrans alike looked to the stars, aware that the calm of their world would soon be tested. And yet, in that moment, both species felt a spark of determination. They would face the coming storm together. The forgotten world had been noticed. And for the first time, Eliara had allies who truly cared. The morning sun rose over Eliara, casting long golden beams through the crystal towers and glimmering forests. The air was crisp, carrying the subtle hum of the planet's natural energy. But beneath the calm, a tension had settled over the Lyran cities. The humans' warning of possible danger weighed heavily on everyone's minds. For centuries, the Lyrans had known only peace. Now the idea of war, of violence, of predators from the stars filled them with fear. Captain Marave and her crew began their work immediately. They had to act carefully, not only to prepare Eliara for defense but also to build trust with the Lyrans. Mara understood that these gentle beings had never known violence. Training them would require patience, skill, and respect. "We start with the basics," Mara said during a council meeting. The Lyran elders gathered in the largest chamber of the capital, their voices soft but curious. "We will teach you how to protect your cities, your knowledge, and your people. Not with weapons alone, but with strategy, intelligence, and your understanding of this planet." The Lyrans listened carefully. Some were skeptical. One elder, Talon, spoke with a soft voice that carried weight among the council. "We do not know war. We have no weapons. Can we truly defend ourselves?" Mara met his gaze steadily. "You have wisdom, creativity, and courage. That is more powerful than any weapon. We will combine your knowledge with our technology. Together, you can defend what is precious. The first step was training. Mara's crew taught the Lyrans how to operate human devices and how to understand potential threats. They created simulated attacks, using holographic projections to show the Lyrans what invaders might look like. The simulations were designed to teach quick thinking, problem-solving, and teamwork without harming anyone. At first, the Lyrans struggled. Their movements were slower, their instincts untested in danger, but slowly they adapted. Using their knowledge of the planet, they learned to create natural defenses, camouflaged observation posts in forests, energy traps along rivers, and early warning systems using the movement of wildlife. The humans were impressed. The Lyrans' insight into their environment gave them an advantage even before they built a single weapon. Meanwhile, the Horizon's sensors picked up distant movements in space. Small ships, sleek and fast, were approaching the Elyara system. Mara examined the data. "These are scouts," she said grimly. "They are testing the system, looking for weaknesses. The Dravens are closer than we thought." The Lyrans grew anxious. Children stopped playing near the crystal rivers. Markets were quieter, and conversations carried a tone of unease. Yet amid the fear there was determination. The humans' presence inspired the Lyrans. For the first time they felt that maybe, just maybe, they could survive a threat no one else seemed to notice. Human engineers and Lyran scientists worked side by side. The Lyrans showed humans hidden channels beneath their cities, natural energy conduits that powered their crystal towers. Humans adapted their technology to enhance these conduits, creating defensive energy barriers that could be activated in emergencies. The process took weeks of careful planning and collaboration. Every success built trust, every failure taught patience. One evening, Mara walked with Talon along a river that glowed softly under Elyara's twin moons. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The calm? It's beautiful. But beauty alone will not save your world. You must learn to fight in ways you never thought you could." Talon nodded, staring at the water. "It is strange," he said. "We do not like violence. But I feel pride that we may protect our home, even if we are not warriors by nature." Mara smiled. "You will discover strengths you never knew existed. That is what makes humans, well, humanity. We fight not because we love conflict, but because we care, and sometimes that makes all the difference." Back on the Horizon, crew members ran simulations and coordinated strategies. Engineers modified drones and reconnaissance devices that could move silently across Elyara's forests and cities. Pilots practiced stealth maneuvers to intercept enemy ships if they came too close. Every human on board understood that Elyara's survival depended not only on technology, but on mentality and unity. Days passed, and the first signs of real danger became clearer. Scouts from the Dravans had been spotted at the edge of Elyara's system. They were sleek black ships that moved silently, scanning for life and energy signatures. The humans analyzed their patterns. The Dravans were searching for weakness, as Mara had expected. "We cannot allow them to find you unprepared," Mara told the Lyrans during a strategy meeting. "We must show them Elyara is defended, not just with weapons, but with intelligence and planning. Every trick, every path, every energy source must be understood. If we work together, we can make them think twice about attacking." The Lyrans began to feel the weight of responsibility. Their peaceful world, once invisible to the galaxy, was now the center of a potential conflict. For generations, they had lived in calm isolation. Now they were learning to stand and protect themselves, guided by humans who had chosen to care when no one else had. The first drills were a mixture of confusion and laughter. Lyrans tried moving quickly, dodging imaginary attacks while humans guided them. Slowly, the exercises became smoother. Lyrans began to understand how to anticipate danger, how to use their surroundings to their advantage, and how to work as a unit rather than individually. One breakthrough came when Lyran scientists adapted human drones to mimic natural wildlife. Flying devices disguised as glowing birds patrolled the forests, sending real-time information to humans on the horizon. Ground drones, camouflaged as rocks or plants, monitored energy flow and movement near the cities. Mara noted these adaptations with admiration. The Lyrans' intuition about their planet created defenses humans could not have imagined. Yet, the threat was never far from anyone's mind. The Horizon's sensors picked up small Draven probes at irregular intervals. These scouts were probing for weaknesses, testing Elyara's defenses silently. and Mara knew a full attack could come at any moment. During one quiet night, Mara gathered the Lyran Council again. "The Dravens are close," she said. "They are studying your planet. We have time, but not much. You must continue learning, practicing, and preparing. Fear is natural, but courage is choice. And we choose to be brave," Talon spoke, his voice firm. "We have learned much from you, Captain. Not just technology, but confidence. Our people begin to see that our calm is not weakness, but a foundation. We can act with thought and purpose even when threatened." Mara nodded. "Exactly. You are not alone anymore. Humanity stands with you. And together, we will show the galaxy that Eliara is not defenseless." Over the following weeks, preparation intensified. The Horizon's crew helped install hidden energy barriers in key city areas, camouflage shields along forests, and emergency evacuation plans for civilians. Lyrans trained in small teams to respond quickly to any threat. Though none had handled weapons before, they learned to coordinate movement, signal alerts, and use human devices to protect vital areas. Small victories boosted morale. A Lyran volunteer successfully used a modified drone to detect a hidden probe in the forest. A team of Lyrans and humans completed a simulated city defense drill with perfect coordination. Each success built confidence and strengthened bonds. Humans and Lyrans were no longer teacher and student. They were partners, working toward a shared goal. But despite progress, the Horizon always carried a shadow. Mara's gaze often lingered on the sensors detecting the distant Draven fleet. They were out there, patient and calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike. And yet Mara felt hope. Eliara's people were learning, growing, and preparing. Humanity's choice to defend them was already changing the course of what might come. As night fell, Eliara's twin moons reflected on the rivers and towers. The Lyrans gathered in small groups discussing what they had learned, sharing strategies and encouraging one another. For the first time in generations, they felt empowered rather than helpless. Humanity had not just brought technology, they had brought belief in the Lyrans' own potential. And above them the Horizon hovered silently, a silver guardian in the night sky. The humans prepared for what would come, knowing that Eliara's survival depended on courage, unity, and clever thinking. The first signs of threat had arrived, and both humans and Lyrans were ready to face them together. Eliara, once forgotten by the galaxy, was no longer alone. The calm of Eliara's morning was shattered by sudden alarms. Red lights flashed across the Horizon's bridge, warning of approaching vessels. Captain Mara Vey's heart tightened. This was not a drill. The Dravens had arrived sooner than anyone expected. "They're close," Mara said, her voice steady but tense. "Scans show multiple ships, fast, agile, and heavily armed. This is not a test. Eliara's defense systems are ready as much as they can be. But the real challenge begins now." The Lyrans, though frightened, gathered in the council halls of their crystal city. They had trained for weeks under humans' guidance, learning coordination, strategy, and some basic use of devices adapted from human technology. Now, the reality of invasion forced them to put theory into action. Talon, one of the council's elders, looked at his people. "Fear is natural," he said softly. "But we must remember what we have learned. The humans have shown us our own strength. Now we must act." Mara addressed both humans and Lyrans through the citywide communication network. "This is not the time for hesitation. We fight together. Eliara's forests, rivers, and cities are your allies. Move with them, use them, protect them. Remember, our goal is to defend, not to destroy. Strategy over force." The Draven fleet emerged from the darkness of space, sleek black ships with jagged edges. Their weapons glowed ominously, ready to cut through Eliara's crystal towers and forests. The Lyrans had never seen anything like them. Some gasped. Others trembled. Mara's crew steadied themselves, ready to act. The Horizon moved into orbit, projecting an energy shield over the capital city. It was a fragile barrier, enough to slow the Draven's initial attacks, but not enough to stop them completely. Mara knew the first minutes would test every plan they had prepared. The Dravens fired first. Beams of red energy struck the outskirts of the city, cracking stone and shattering crystal structures. Panic threatened to spread, but Mara remained calm. "Focus," she ordered. "Use what we've taught you." Lyran defense teams activated energy traps along forested paths. Modified drones flew into the air, camouflaged as birds, scouting Draven ships and sending information back to human pilots. The first wave of Draven fighters approached the city expecting an easy conquest. They found unexpected resistance. Human ships maneuvered cleverly, using Elyara's natural terrain as cover. Asteroids, floating debris, and magnetic fields provided hiding spots and ambush points. Mara's crew had calculated every possible path the Dravens might take, and the humans guided the Lyrans to take advantage of each one. The Lyrans themselves showed surprising bravery. Small teams moved through the forests, setting traps and guiding beams of energy toward Draven ships. Using the planet's natural energy flows, they created pulses that interfered with the invaders' sensors. The Dravens, confident in their superiority, were caught off guard by a civilization they had assumed was defenseless. Talon led a group of volunteers through the crystal avenues, coordinating with human drones. "Remember what we practiced," he shouted. "We protect, we do not panic, and we fight together." The first wave of Draven fighters faltered. One ship miscalculated its approach and was disabled by a cleverly placed energy trap in the forest. Another was confused by drones that mimicked natural wildlife, forcing it to retreat temporarily. The Lyrans cheered quietly, astonished at their own effectiveness. Despite early successes, the battle was far from over. The Dravens regrouped, launching a concentrated strike toward the city's central power nodes. Mara's heart pounded as she directed human ships to intercept. "Focus on their lead ships. Protect the city at all costs." Lyrans used what they had learned about their own world to create natural choke points. Rivers that could be redirected, crystal formations that reflected energy beams, and forests that could hide defensive positions all became part of a living strategy. It was not just a fight. It was a dance of intellect and survival. Hours passed. The battle raged in the skies above Elyara and along its surface. Human pilots communicated constantly with Lyran teams, coordinating moves, alerting them to enemy shifts, and adapting to Draven tactics. For the first time in their history, the Lyrans felt the adrenaline of defense, the rush of participating in something larger than themselves. A critical moment arrived when the Dravens targeted the city's central archive, a repository of centuries of Lyran knowledge. Mara knew losing it would be devastating. She led a strike team of human pilots, supported by Lyran volunteers, to intercept the incoming attackers. Flying low through the energy corridors, the human Lyran team used the planet's natural magnetic fields to evade attacks and position themselves for a counterstrike. Lyrans guided energy pulses from the ground to create barriers while humans fired precision shots to disable enemy ships. It was a perfect blend of Elyara's natural power and human technology. The Dravens, frustrated and confused, attempted to regroup. But the Horizon's shields and the coordinated defense made every advance costly. Mara realized that Elyara's true strength lay not in raw power, but in ingenuity, cooperation, and courage. By nightfall, the first major wave of Dravens had been repelled. Elyara's cities were battered, some crystal towers cracked and forests scarred, but the core of the civilization remained intact. Lyran stood together, exhausted but alive. They had faced their first real threat and survived. Talon gathered his people in the central plaza, his voice firm and proud. "We have seen our world under fire. We have seen what fear feels like, and we have stood. We have fought together. Today we are no longer helpless. Today we are defenders of Elyara." Mara approached him, smiling despite the exhaustion. "You did more than I expected. You adapted quickly, thought creatively, and never panicked. The Dravens underestimated you, and they will regret it." The Lyrans began to understand something profound. Humans had not come merely to protect them. They had taught them how to stand on their own. In the midst of danger, they had discovered courage, creativity, and the ability to act decisively. But Mara knew this was only the beginning. The Dravens were patient and relentless. They would return larger and stronger. Elyara would need more than courage. It would need strategy, alliances, and preparation for a battle that could decide the planet's fate. That night, the Lyrans and humans worked together to repair damaged defenses, enhance energy barriers, and plan for the next possible attack. Children who had watched the battle from hidden places whispered to their parents about what they had seen, inspired by bravery they had never known. Mara stood on the Horizon's bridge looking at the glowing planet below. "Today we showed them Elyara is defended," she said softly to her first officer. "Tomorrow we show them that they cannot break our spirit. Humans and Lyrans together, We are stronger than they imagine. Talon joined her on the observation deck, his eyes reflecting the city lights. Your people have given us more than protection, he said. You have given us belief in ourselves. That is something no weapon can ever destroy. Mara nodded. And that belief, that courage, that unity, that is what will make Eliara survive. No matter what comes next, you will not be alone. As the night settled over Eliara, the stars twinkled like distant guardians. The Draven's ships retreated into the dark, but the Lyrans knew it was only temporary. The first clash had been won, but the war for their world was only beginning, and Eliara, once forgotten by the galaxy, had found its voice, its courage, and its allies. Humanity's choice to stand with them had changed everything. For the first time in generations, Eliara was no longer defenseless, and the Lyrans felt a spark of hope stronger than fear. The victory against the Draven's first wave brought relief to Eliara, but the humans knew it was only temporary. Captain Mara Vey stood on the horizon's bridge, eyes fixed on the distant shadows of enemy ships lurking beyond the planet's system. They are patient, she said quietly. They will return stronger. Eliara must be ready. The Lyrans, though newly confident, began to understand the scale of the threat. The Dravens were not a single ship or fleet. They were a powerful, organized force, spreading fear across the galaxy. Humanity alone could not guarantee Eliara's long-term safety. Alliances were necessary. Mara convened a meeting with the Lyran Council. We must show the galaxy that Eliara is worth defending, not just for Eliara, but for what it represents. Courage, knowledge, and peace are just as valuable as power. If other civilizations see that, they may stand with us. The Lyrans were uncertain. For centuries, they had been ignored, abandoned by the galaxy. Could other species truly care about them now? But seeing the humans resolve, they agreed to help broadcast Eliara's message. Humans and Lyrans worked together to create holographic transmissions showcasing Eliara's culture, history, and achievements. Artists displayed ancient crystal sculptures. Musicians performed melodies that harmonized with the planet's natural energy, and scholars highlighted centuries of peaceful knowledge. Humanity emphasized Eliara's value, not as a strategic target, but as a living, thinking, beautiful civilization. As the broadcasts reached neighboring star systems, reactions were mixed. Many species remained indifferent, unwilling to risk conflict with the Dravens. Some scoffed at humanity's insistence on defending a forgotten world. Yet a few smaller civilizations began to respond, intrigued and inspired. They sent small fleets, supplies, and messages of encouragement. Humanity's actions were starting to change perspectives across the galaxy. Meanwhile, Eliara's defenses were strengthened. Lyran engineers adapted human technology to amplify their planet's natural energy. Crystalline towers became energy hubs able to project shields over entire cities. Forests were mapped as defensive zones, with traps and early warning systems camouflaged perfectly. Humans trained Lyran volunteers to operate drones, sensors, and energy devices with speed and precision. The bond between humans and Lyrans deepened. They learned from one another. Humans shared tactics. The Lyrans shared knowledge of energy flows, natural terrain, and crystal structures. Together, they created a defense system unlike any the Dravens had faced, a blend of technology, nature, and ingenuity. Weeks later, sensors picked up movement near the outer edge of Eliara's system. The Dravens were returning. This time, their fleet was larger, more organized, and heavily armed. Mara called a strategy meeting with her human crew and Lyran leaders. They expect an easy victory, she said. But Eliara is no longer alone. We have prepared, we have allies, and we have something they do not, united ingenuity. The battle began with careful precision. Smaller Draven ships probed defenses, only to be trapped by cleverly placed energy pulses and drones disguised as wildlife. Lyran teams guided energy flows to disrupt enemy sensors, while human pilots maneuvered through asteroid fields to intercept attackers. The Dravens grew frustrated, realizing that Eliara's defenses were far more complex than anticipated. Mara took a small strike team to confront a cluster of Draven capital ships. Using Eliara's magnetic fields and gravity anomalies, they performed daring maneuvers, disabling the enemy ship's engines and forcing them to retreat. Lyrans on the ground directed energy pulses, reinforcing barriers and protecting cities. Every success strengthened morale, not just for Eliara, but for the small allied civilizations watching from afar. The turning point came when the Dravens targeted a sacred Lyran archive. Humanity and Lyrans had anticipated this. Hidden beneath the surface, the archive had a series of defensive energy channels connected to the planet's natural power. As the Dravens attacked, Lyran engineers activated the channels, creating a dazzling display of energy that disabled enemy sensors and repelled ships. For the first time, Ilyara had not only survived an attack but controlled the battlefield. Word of Ilyara's defense spread quickly. Other civilizations began to offer more support: intelligence, ships, and supplies. The Lyrans, once ignored, were now a symbol of courage and ingenuity. Humanity's choice to defend them had rallied the galaxy, proving that compassion and strategy could inspire action even among indifferent powers. As night fell on Ilyara, the twin moons reflected over the cities and forests. Humans and Lyrans celebrated quietly, aware that the war was far from over. But for the first time, they knew that Ilyara's future was no longer dictated by fear. Captain Mara looked out at the glowing planet below. "They will return," she said softly. "But next time they will face more than just defenders. They will face a civilization that will not be ignored, and a galaxy that has learned that Ilyara matters." Talon joined her, his expression proud. "We have learned much," he said. "Not just about defense, but about ourselves. Humanity has shown us courage and hope, and we will carry it forward no matter what comes." Together, humans and Lyrans prepared for the inevitable. The Dravens' return was only a matter of time, but Ilyara was no longer defenseless. The forgotten world had become a beacon of strength, ingenuity, and unity, an inspiration for all civilizations willing to see its value. The Dravens returned in force. Their fleet stretched across the stars, black and ominous, engines glowing with destructive power. They had learned from the previous encounters, adapting their tactics, but Ilyara was ready. Human and Lyran defenses were fully synchronized, a combination of technology, strategy, and natural ingenuity. Captain Mara Vey stood on the bridge of the horizon, overseeing operations. "This is it," she said quietly. "Every life on Ilyara, every effort, every lesson we have shared, it all comes down to this moment. Stay focused. Trust each other." The Lyrans, now confident in their abilities, took their positions across the cities and forests. Volunteers operated drones, energy barriers, and surveillance systems. Children watched from safe zones, inspired by the courage of their elders and their human allies. Ilyara's entire population felt the weight of history on their shoulders. The battle began at dawn. The Dravens fired in waves, striking at the cities, forests, and crystal towers. But Ilyara's defenses responded with precision. Energy shields flared, drones intercepted enemy fighters, and natural defenses created unpredictable obstacles. The Dravens were frustrated. Ilyara was unlike any world they had attacked before. Human pilots led coordinated strikes against enemy capital ships. Using Ilyara's magnetic anomalies and gravitational fields, they forced the Dravens into ambushes, disabling engines and weapons systems. Lyrans guided energy pulses from the planet, creating dazzling interference patterns that disoriented the attackers. Together, humans and Lyrans turned the battlefield into a maze, where every move had a calculated counter. In the heart of the battle, Talon led a Lyran squad to protect the central archive, the repository of centuries of knowledge. The Dravens targeted it relentlessly, but the Lyrans anticipated every strike. Using energy shields and cleverly routed pulses, they held the attackers at bay. The humans coordinated with them, reinforcing weak points and guiding counterattacks. The Dravens, realizing brute force would not win, attempted to retreat. But humanity and their allies anticipated the move. Coordinated strikes from human pilots combined with Lyran energy manipulations disabled the enemy flagship. One by one, Draven ships were forced to retreat, beaten not by sheer numbers but by strategy, intelligence, and unity of purpose. When the dust settled, Ilyara's cities were battered but intact. Forests had scars and some towers had fallen, but the planet and its people had survived. Lyrans gathered in the central plaza, overwhelmed with relief and pride. Humanity had not only defended them, they had taught them to defend themselves. Talon addressed the crowd. "We were once ignored, unseen by the galaxy," he said. "But today we have stood. We have fought. We have proven that Ilyara matters, not because we are strong alone, but because we are united, clever, and courageous. Mara joined him, smiling at the gathering. Humanity came here because we believed in Elyara, she said. But you have shown that belief is only the beginning. Your courage, your ingenuity, and your will to protect what is precious. That is what saved your world. News of Elyara's defense spread quickly across the galaxy. Civilizations that had once ignored the planet began to see it differently. Some sent messages of congratulations. Others offered trade and cooperation. Elyara had become more than a survivor. It was a symbol of hope. The Lyrans rebuilt their cities with humans' help, combining new technology with their natural elegance. Crystalline towers shone brighter. Forests were carefully restored and energy systems became stronger. Children grew up hearing stories of the first defense. Learning the lessons of courage, unity, and ingenuity, Captain Mara and the Horizon crew prepared to leave, their mission complete but their bond with Elyara eternal. You will not be alone again, Mara told Talon. The galaxy now knows your value, and humanity will remember you always. Talon smiled, eyes shining. You have given us more than defense, he said. You have given us belief in ourselves. That is a gift no weapon could ever match. As the Horizon departed, Elyara